The Avarice Trading Podcast is brought to you by coffee and weed. We will be partaking in both soon, and then we'll be beginning a movie commentary. So, you know the deal. If you want to join in on the coffee drinking or the weed smoking, go ahead and get your setup ready. I'm going to begin brewing my cup of coffee. I'll sit down, I'll hit my bong, and then we will do a movie commentary on Child's Play from 1988. So, close the Keurig and get this shit rolling. Child's Play is an interesting one. The movie's almost as old as I am. It spawned a shitload of sequels. It's a strong franchise, at least when it comes to sheer volume. I don't know how they did box office wise. I don't care. This is interesting to me because the concept of Chucky, like when you think of it, it seems like it should be and could be very scary. And obviously, they found an audience with it. But when you see it in practice, to me it looks kind of goofy and far-fetched. He's a little fucking doll. Like, I could fuck up 15 Chuckies. So, I get why little kids are afraid of it. I was terrified of fucking Chucky when I was a small child because he was my size and I didn't have the cognitive ability to wrap my heads around the situation and understand just how unrealistic it was that this doll's doing all this stuff. Now, I know that he exists in kind of a supernatural realm. To begin with, he's a person whose soul, or whatever you want to call it, has been transferred into this children's plaything, this doll. So we're dealing with supernatural stuff right off the bat. So it would be unfair to assume that the doll with the human soul has the strength and capabilities of a human being of the same size, because none of this is actually realistic, right? So why would the abilities of the character be realistic? So I have to give them some leeway there, but that doesn't mean that my brain's not going to throw an error when I see Chucky attacking grown adults and getting the better of them. But having said that, I will give this a good old college try. We'll sit down and watch the movie. I did watch it once recently just to familiarize myself. I hadn't seen it since way back in the day. And then, so it was one of those, I was at an age when I became aware of Chucky that it terrified me, so I didn't want to see it. Then by the time I was old enough to where it wouldn't scare me anymore, I also thought it was kind of dumb. So I never really got deep into the Child's Play franchises. Franchise, not franchises. I meant to say movies or franchise, and it came out franchises. You understand. Talking by yourself for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours straight isn't the English easiest accomplishment in the world. So you have to bear with me at times. I'm going to be streaming this on Amazon Prime. It's one of the reasons that I decided to go ahead and do a commentary on it is because it's on Prime Video and I can watch it. It's not a part of my collection. Most likely I won't be continuing with the rest of the franchise like I did with Halloween, Scream, etc. I don't feel like finding a path for watching every single Child's Play movie just so that I can do the commentaries. If down the road somewhere one of them pops up on Netflix or on Prime, I might go ahead and do a commentary on them there. But I'm not going to commit to doing the entire franchise like I did with the others. I'm seated now. I'm going to take a hit and then we'll begin playing the movie. Keep in mind when I play this, because I'm watching it on Amazon Prime, there's probably going to be an advertisement for some kind of Amazon show right at the beginning. So when I hit play and I tell you guys I'm hitting play, it's likely not going to be the exact start of the actual film if you're watching it on DVD or Blu-ray, for example. Oh, laser, nitro. Alrighty then. Okay, let's begin this freak show. I apologize to anybody out there who is a hardcore fan of Child's Play if I'm speaking in a negative fashion about it. Just expressing my honest opinion. If you want to listen to a podcast about how great Child's Play is, you can make one. Yeah, I was right. So, shit, I didn't even cue you guys. I tell you what, I'm going to get through this commercial they have for this Amazon show, and then I will cue you guys up. So it's not letting me fast forward. Okay. So, oh, I see. So if I let the commercial play, it'll let me get to the movie, and then I can back up to the beginning of the movie. So now go ahead and get your stuff queued up, and I will press play in 3, 2, 1, play. We've got Mr. Tiger. It's Tony the Tiger. He's a lion. What the fuck? I know I'm guilty of saying some pretty dumb shit sometimes, guys. I'm thinking of it on the fly, and sometimes I'm high, sometimes I'm tired. The whole gamut of things are possible. I've definitely been guilty of some really bad math lately. At this point in time, you haven't gotten to hear it because that stuff hasn't been released, but I give everything a quick skim through after I record it just to make sure that it's worth it and that I didn't say anything too stupid. And in the commentary for Boiler Room, I said that if you took home 550 grand a year, that would be 100 grand a month, which was not even for some reason 550. I was like, 52 weeks in a year, and then I did some horrible division. Anyway, I'm perfectly aware that that's wrong. What I meant to say was that's 10 grand a week, but it just didn't come out of my mouth right. And then also I said on the commentary track for the first Wire episode that there was like 50 of them. So if I did 2 of them a week, that would take me a year. And that was wrong because if I did 2 of them a week, it would take me 6 months. So I said 2 a week and did the math in my head for 1 a week. I just had to acknowledge that and let you all know that I'm not that fucking dumb. Okay, the movie started and I'm paying it a major disrespect by not even talking about it. So, Brad Dourif is Charles Lee Ray. This cop is going to be the cop character in the entire movie. Charles Lee Ray is a murderer of some kind. He didn't even shoot the lock. The lock was still fine. The door just popped open on its own. So the casting of Brad Dourif is probably the best thing they did in the movie, I think, because his voice makes Chucky. Brad Dourif's voice is Chucky. It becomes as trademark as the red hair and that fucking good guy's outfit to me. It really, there's probably a few variations you could have had other people do it and it would have still worked, but I don't think you could have got a more perfect voice than Brad Dourif's. And it's interesting because he's only actually physically in the movie acting for this opening shot. The rest of it is all voice acting. It has a low-budget cheeseball factor to it, just in the way it's shot and the way the characters act. Some of these toys that it's showing are giving me a stroll down nostalgia lane, though. This came out in 88, and I was born in late 87. So this is basically right around when I was born. See, that voice is remarkable. It's fucking perfect. He almost could have been, if he wasn't already the voice of Chucky, I think he could have been the voice of Ghostface in Scream. He wouldn't have had the same tones that he could reach when he's speaking low, but when he decided to get to shout and hang up on me again and I'll gut you like a fish, Brad Dourif could have delivered that. So the Charles Lee Ray character is into all this like cult, voodoo, satanic, magic, worship shit, which is probably a major market of the movie, is people who are into that stuff, because they continue with that through line. But he's going to use some kind of a magic spell to transfer his soul into the body of this good guy doll, which I alluded to earlier. I assume anybody who's listening to this has seen the movie. For Christ's sake, it's 30 years old. The design of the doll, they nailed too. It's a little bit unfair to redheaded people, though, because like, if you think about it, there had to be many years where children were afraid of redheaded people because Chucky had red hair. I'm just imagining. But then the Rugrats come out, and they have a redheaded character also named Chucky, and they kind of just took that back. They like erased this Chucky from people's memories. You could make a strong case that the Rugrats Chucky is more synonymous with that name than this Chucky is. And they look very much alike. One of them is totally shy and a scaredy cat, and the other one is this serial killer. It's kind of interesting. I wonder if that was a decision they made on purpose. It's almost like they had turned kids off to anything that looked like this Chucky, so they had to create a likable Chucky that looked similar to him to re-ingratiate him. It was probably a rough few years for gingers. So he summoned his demonic power and caused lightning to strike the building, and now his soul has been transferred into that doll. And because his soul has left his body, he is effectively dead. So this police officer gentleman, wearing his fucking cable knit sweater, what the hell, will believe that he's dead. I like to think about what it would be like to be Charles Lee Ray and have your consciousness, god damn it, that's, you know what I'm trying to say, your essence stuck inside that doll. Like, he's thinking the entire time, right? Because she never actually puts batteries in it. So he is sitting in this box trapped for days. The patience, it's a crazy thing to think about, the headspace that he would be in being stuck in that doll. Now we get a little bit of more exposure on why there was this huge display of those dolls at the store. There's a morning cartoon. This kid is balls deep in it. He's got the fucking pajamas. He's got the cereal. It's all branded off this show he's into. Oh my God. Where is your supervision? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, Jesus. What are you doing, kid? This is what my kid would make himself for breakfast if he could. That thing is creepy as fuck. What is that? It's like a Chucky mixed with Barney. Oh, they had different names. So is this one... This one's Chucky because Charles Lee Ray's inside? Oh, bruh. Oh my god, I can't even look at it. Ugh. He just put like an ice cream scoop of butter on this burnt ass toast. And he essentially poured a huge bowl of Fruit Loops and then put spoonfuls of sugar on top of it. Today's his birthday, and oh, fucking A. I have a 5-year-old, and I'm just picturing him doing this in the mess. It's giving me a heart attack. Mommy must have taken some sleeping pills because she doesn't smell you burning down the kitchen. You're watching TV loud as fuck, making a bunch of noise. You just... Yeah. This is a very unaware mother. Anyway, it's his birthday, and he saw those presents wrapped over there. And the one looks like the shape of the Good Guy dolls. I wonder if you took a survey, how many people know the name of this movie? Because the Chucky is the more memorable part, as opposed to the Child's Play part. The Child's Play doesn't even really seem to fit. It's the name, but it doesn't resonate the same way like Halloween does, Scream. It's not as catchy. Child's Play, it's not as... I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't fit the right way. And they, of course, realized that later on down the road and started going with Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky and Orphan of Chucky and Grandfather of Chucky, Poodle of Chucky, El Camino of Chucky. You bought new clothes that you have to hem 2 inches? I'm unfamiliar with that life. I've never had one custom piece of clothing that I can think of.
Well, what do you think? I want a good guy to go with it. I know you do, Annie, but I didn't know about it in time to save up for it.
So it would have been possible to save up for it, but since you didn't know about it and didn't have time to save up for it, you got him the little toolkit and clothes?
Karen, you know that doll you wanted for Andy? Well, it cost $100. Really good. There's
That's the struggle, right? You want to give your kids what they want, and you want to take care of them and provide them with toys, things of that sort. But if you have to break your bank to buy them this ultra sought after thing that's going to be passé in a year, it's not really worth it.
Okay, show her.
Here we got mo money, mo money, mo money. Fell off the back of a truck.
It is. Yeah, well, I told you. How much do you want for it? $50. 10, and not a penny more. 30. What are you kidding? Thing is not
How much were they in the goddamn store?
I'll take it. Karen, it's too much money. No, it isn't. You have no idea how much Andy wants this.
$50?
No, the damn thing works.
It's hard for me to imagine the thing would have been much more than $50 brand new in the store in 1988.
It isn't stolen, huh? Steal this yourself.
How do you know it's for sure it's fucking stolen? Did you see the guy you bought it from? Where do you think that he has a deal with a wholesaler? This douchebag.
Sorry, Mr. Griswold. I'm going to Griswold, we were just downstairs on an employee birthday present.
We have specified break times for activities like that.
Yeah, and I bet you use yours to go jerk off and cry.
I can't. Pick up my son at the daycare.
God damn it. I gotta start remembering that my coffee is full when I'm so distracted by watching the thing and talking that I just blindly take a drink and I spill it on myself. This is great audio, right? This makes for an interesting listen.
Hey, chill out. Would you, Walter? Huh?
I recommend that if you're going to wear like a collared button-up shirt underneath a sweater, that you have like a contrasting color so I can tell what you're doing. Just go with a white or just something that's not the exact same color as your sweater, please. Is he wearing a snowsuit? He's got on this puffer jacket and it looks like snow pants.
This isn't groceries.
Now that I think about it, when I was in elementary school, during the winter, it would snow and I would wear snow pants to school for however long. But this kid is not the strongest actor. Nobody in this movie is really the strongest actor. Brad Dourif delivers the best performance by far.
And I'm your friend to the end. He's something, isn't he?
Damn it. That's a good mom, though. That's what you want to do. It's a fine line to walk, though. Because that's not something I would have to save up for. I could just buy it for him. But how much do you buy? And when do you draw the line? And how much shit are you going to let collect around your house? Because my son literally will tell you he wants everything. And you can get him something, and he's still going to want something else. Like, you can't actually please him. It never happens. So you just have to start making lines that you draw where we're not going to go over this. We're not going to have more than this amount of stuff. You're not going to get this unless we get rid of something else. Kids don't have the concept of what it takes to acquire all that stuff. So despite the fact that the poster has Chucky on it with being a crazy fucking knife-wielding maniac and such, they play out the beginning of the movie like the kid might be crazy and hearing voices, and the doll, he pretends the doll is talking to him. They really, really hold out and wait a long time to reveal that it's the doll for sure. They spend a lot of time playing in this could it be the kid? Is this kid lying and making up stories kind of realm. It does add to the creepy factor, though. There's certain parts that, when just taken at face value, are definitely creepy. When I turned this on the other day, my wife was getting ready to go to bed, and I didn't think she was going to be coming back out here, and she did, and she didn't know what she was watching, and it was right around this part. And so she's just watching the kid brush his teeth, and the girl put away the dishes, and then all of a sudden the TV turns on, and Chucky's sitting on the chair watching it, and she goes, nope, and she just walked out of the room. She's not into this shit at all, which is weird because she loves true crime stuff. She listens to true crime podcasts. Her fucking DVR, Netflix, all that is all just Forensic Files, Murder Case, Mindhunter, Evil Genius. It's all that shit, but she hates scary movies. She likes people talking about what happened and going through the steps of solving it, but she doesn't like to actually see like reenactments or physical representations of the violence, I guess. She doesn't like to see the blood and the knives and all that. She just likes the story. I find it slightly odd, though, because when you're listening to a podcast and they're describing something, aren't you picturing, like, doesn't your mind automatically conjure the worst case scenario, what would scare you the most? So wouldn't that be scarier than something that you just see? Anyway, I think there's a lot of people that probably like that. So, as the audience, we kind of see that he was brushing his teeth and it probably wasn't him, but you're not sure. And we haven't seen the doll say anything but stock phrases to this point, or look like it's alive at all. I also wonder how much it cost for the effect to have that robotic doll that is moving autonomously like that. It almost seems to me like this beginning part of the movie, they had to go with as much sleight of hand and not show what they were doing as soon as they could have, because it would have cost more to use the animatronic Chucky throughout the entire film, maybe. That's just a guess. It does make it a little bit creepier when you don't know exactly what's going on. I will agree to that too. Damn, ballin' ass TV. I have to look at what TV that they have in all these old movies. Reminds me of the good old days. When it came to TVs, they weren't good old days. They were heavy as fuck. The pictures sucked. Those rugs, though. Everybody had those rugs when I was a kid. Those damn that rug right there. Circular rugs with the different color patterns. They were like a woven circular thing. My grandma had green and white ones all around her house on all the wood floors of varying sizes. Never particularly was a fan of them. And the kid and Chucky are wearing the same outfit. So when you get a glimpse like that, you can't tell if it's the kid or Chucky. When it shows a hand reaching for something, the sleeve is the same, the shoes are the same. What is he doing? Happy birthday! I don't think the kid would be asleep yet. He'd probably respond. Or Chucky might have laid there and waited for him to fall asleep until he got up. What do? Shove him? Hey, kid, you awake? Die, you fucking whore! Ah! It's also interesting how the eras blend together, because we like to break up fashion and palettes that are popular by decades. The 70s were the orange and the brown and all that. The 90s was like floral patterns and baggy clothes. Well, this is 88, but it almost looks like the early 90s to me. It starts to shift slowly. You can see little changes incrementally along the way. And then through the 2000s, we started going away from the baggy clothes, but it was slow. And then it was into like straight leg stuff. And then now we're clear into skinny jeans and joggers. And it's probably going to start to go back the other direction soon. I remember my grandfather, when I was a kid, we were talking about the length of shorts, because when I was growing up, if your shorts weren't below your knee, you were a fucking dork. So, and I was talking to him about how, but when I play soccer, I couldn't wear shorts that hung below my knee when I played soccer, because sometimes I would go to take a stride, and my legs would get bound up because it would actually hook over my knee and keep my knee from going out all the way. And he's like, yeah, well, when I was a kid, we wore shorts so short our balls practically hung out the bottom of them, and they slowly got longer and longer and longer, and now they're hanging over your knee. And he's like, by the time you're my age, they're going to be up by your balls again. And he's probably right. But he had that perspective. He didn't get pissed off when people had baggy clothes on, and he recognized that it's just a trend that people follow. It's this era, this point in time. My grandpa was always good at dropping knowledge like that. You get these little morsels This might be the most intense scene in the entire movie, and I'm not even acknowledging it. Okay, though. Ain't that a plastic hammer? There's no way that was a real hammer. And this little fucking doll threw this plastic hammer at her forehead hard enough to knock her backwards out the window. Then as she falls out the window, she suddenly turns and is facing the ground. I don't mind the effect of her falling into the top of the truck and denting it in, but how she got there is pretty fucking stupid. It wouldn't have been easy, but there are ways you could have gone about that kill that are more plausible for a character like Chucky to commit. Because at this point, they're still walking this line where it might be the kid fucking around, right? So, just pretend it's something the kid has to be capable of doing. Could the kid have thrown that little plastic hammer at her forehead, drawn blood, and knocked her backwards out the window? It would be hard to punch her in the face and knock her backwards out that window. Hit her with a plastic hammer in the forehead that was clearly thrown because there was no hand attached to it. Maybe it's just because time has passed and it doesn't hold up, but I have trouble with this ever having been that scary of a movie, except for the little kids who honestly shouldn't have been watching the fucking thing. That's definitely one thing. I probably got exposed to horror movies too young. But I had teenage parents. They didn't know better. And it was the late 80s. Teenage parents in the late 80s. They did a remarkable job, all things considered. But clearly there was enough people drawn in by this movie that they made sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel, and then they had a return audience. They were able to do kind of reboots and take long gaps and come back and still have an audience. I'm partially guilty of that, but there was an era right after Scream came out in the mid-late 90s where we had a rejuvenation in horror. I've talked about it on many podcasts, but if you didn't listen to those and this is the first one you're listening to, now you know. Go back and check out the other ones too. And in that bunch, that's when you got the sequel Scream 2. You got I Know What You Did Last Summer, Wishmaster, Urban Legends, Halloween H2O, and they also made Bride of Chucky. And I watched Bride of Chucky quite a few times. I had it on VHS, but I was also like 13. See, we're still walking this line. So the footprints are up on the counter. Okay, how'd the doll get up on the counter? The counter is like taller than he is.
Andy, if you're dead, I'll be in a minute to touch you. Right now. Why are you treating Andy like this? If he says he doesn't know how to swim,
See, they still are playing with maybe the kid is doing shit.
I don't know.
So he got up on the counter and ran and threw the hammer? I'm still not buying it. Fuck you.
I'm alone with my son, who I'm sure is just as upset about this as I am.
I'll clear everybody out of here right now.
He should have tripped her with something, honestly. If they were going to have her fall out the window, he should have tripped her with something. I doubt she was wearing shoelaces that he could tie together. But work something out so that he scares her, she trips backwards and falls, but the throwing the plastic hammer. So Chucky has the flower on his feet, and now it's pretty clear that it's Chucky. Chucky's feet also look much smaller than that kid's. Chucky has like baby shoes on. Tell them why, Andy. See, he buried the lead. He needed to say, Chucky has flour on the bottom of his feet. And I don't, so it was Chucky. And then they'd have to be like, well, that's kind of fucking interesting.
You don't give up, do you? And I even don't know when to stop.
Nice jacket, bro. Fucking A, right. What kind of pattern do you call that? It's like a weird splatter look. He's smoking a cigarette, so that means I've got to. You know how it is. See, you can tell by the way he's holding that, it's just a little fucking plastic hammer. Look at that thing. That's what knocked her in the head and sent her over the... Now the kid's in there talking to Chucky, chatting him up. And getting raw with him. I believe he tells him that that girl got what she deserved because she was a stupid bitch. I do like that part. Chucky was one of the few serial killers that spoke. And he did a good job at it. He was vulgar, and he said stuff that was chilling, and he had the right voice and delivery. I wouldn't even hang out in the room with a Chucky doll back when I was a kid. I remember going over to my parents' friend's house. I had younger parents, so, they would hang out with their friends and play cards or something like that, and usually their friends would have a kid or kids, and I would hang out with them. And I remember one time I went into their game room, and they had a Chucky doll that was maybe 20% the size of the one in the movie. It was a tiny Chucky doll, and I fucking bolted out of that room screaming. I could not handle it. Maybe this podcast has turned into some therapy for me, because I've always wondered why I'm on the defense. Why, like, when I was a little kid, I was worried. I've said before, my mom would park at the mini mart and run in to buy a pack of smokes, and she'd leave me in the car, and I would immediately worry about my safety, and I would start looking for a pen, is what I found most circumstances, to try to stab somebody if they came and tried to kidnap me from the car. Maybe that's because I was exposed to these kind of movies too early. I don't know. But it's hung with me. I'm still kind of hyper aware of danger, even though shit like this doesn't get to me at all anymore. See, from this point on, the element to me that's the scariest is you knowing that the doll is doing it and nobody else believing you, especially when you're the little kid, because you don't have any recourse. You barely have any idea how the world works. It's not even crazy to you that your doll is doing this, because you don't understand how crazy that sounds. It's what's happening. So then, to try to be in this reality where nobody believes you and you can't do anything about it, that is actually terrifying. There's a lot of movies built off that. Somebody knows the truth, the audience knows the truth, and they can't convince anybody else. And then even later, when the mom believes him, and she can't get anybody to believe her. And then finally the cop, and it's the three of them, the cop, the mom, and the son, that believe, and they can't get anybody to believe them. It's this constant struggle to get people to believe you. But I just dispatched that fucking doll. As soon as I realized what was going on, he'd be gone. I'd sit him down and give him a fighting chance even. Little fucker ain't gonna do anything. His arms are like 10 inches long, if that. They're probably like 8 inches long. My leg is like 30 inches long. I can kick that fucker over and over again. I can kick him all day. He's never gonna get close enough to touch me. I'll even give him a knife. I still maneuver around that bitch. With a broom. I could fuck Chucky up with a broom. Like sweeping the floor. All day long. But Chucky can jump. Okay, give me a tennis racket. You're not gonna come up with a scenario where I'm afraid of Chucky, bitch. The surprise element. Okay. That's the one thing he's got going for him. That he could actually pull off. They gotta stick with that shit. I think there's a scene in Bride of Chucky where he rigs up some weird, like, pulley system, and when he pulls the cord, it launches a bunch of nails into somebody's face in the driver's seat. I can't remember the details of it. I haven't seen that movie in 15 years. But I remember that kill. That's the kind of stuff that a doll come to life would be capable of enacting and executing. Overpowering, wrestling, chasing, that's the kind of shit you have to keep him away from. You don't put him in circumstances that are going to make him look stupid and make the story look far-fetched. He's really got to be a methodical, mental-based, strategical... Is that a word? I think it is. He's got to have a certain level of strategery and tact to his attacks, because he's at a physical disadvantage, clearly. So Chucky, when he was watching the news, learned that his partner in crime survived, and now he's getting the kid to take him over there. When they show the scenes of Chucky running, he does run fast as fuck, though, eh? It's like, brrr, look at him go. It's like a chihuahua or something. Thank God for him that door didn't have a handle and a deadbolt, or he'd have been fucked. I guess he could have just shot in the air like he did in the beginning and got it to pop open. The sonic boom popped the door open. This is Chicago. I almost said is this New York City, but the police officers had the Chicago flag on their shoulder. Chicago have rat problems like New York? I imagine they do. It's a big ass city. I don't know if we have rat problems in Portland. We probably do. We have a homeless problem. There is just off-ramps where the entire space between the freeway and the off-ramp is full of tents and garbage and cardboard houses. They're blocking bicycle passing areas. Then again, in Portland, we're accustomed to having bicycle paths. People elsewhere in the country are probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yes, we have vegan, grass-fed bike paths, and we have a hipster zone, and... You want to know how ridiculous Portland is? We have a bridge that they just built that cost millions of dollars that goes across the Willamette River, and it's only for pedestrians. Think about that for a second. Meanwhile, we have so much traffic that OHSU, the hospital school, built themselves a gigantic trolley like you would see at a ski resort or something, just to transfer people from one part of the hospital to another, because it took too long to drive up and down the fucking hill. So Chucky's chased down his buddy. This is a kill he could pull off. I like this one. He's going to turn on the... he blows out the pilot light in the oven and turns the gas on high and then blows the house up. Totally legit. This little fucking doll could pull this off. I'm just not sure why they had to play the game where they're almost teasing the audience that it could be the kid. You could set it up to make it look like the adults and the cops would think it's the kid because they're not going to believe it's the doll. It's going to take a lot of convincing. So regardless of how that first kill played out, the cop would still think it's the kid and not the doll. It didn't have to play out that way. He could have just slit her throat while she was sitting on the goddamn chair or something. Like, you have to recognize the strengths and weaknesses of your character. And one of the weaknesses is he is 2.5 feet tall, weighs 10 pounds. Like, so keep him within the realm of stuff that he can accomplish. I don't ask my 5-year-old to hang Christmas lights. Would be difficult for him to accomplish. Maybe that's a poor example. When we're hauling in groceries, I don't hand my son the heaviest bags. It's a distribution of work based off ability. I carry the heavy stuff and most of it, and he carries 1 or 2 light things because that's what he's capable of. So when you're thinking about how to put your serial killer character to use, you have to recognize his realm of strength and expertise. Plus you have Brad Dourif, who's able to deliver these great visceral, chilling lines. To have him be a cerebral character and go about things in a very methodical fashion, it would all make sense. I'm offering a lot of criticism, but they obviously were successful with it, so I'm just a little bit dumbfounded at how. It doesn't make as clear a sense as a Michael Myers, a Freddy, a Jason Voorhees. They're all capable of much higher levels of destruction physically than this little guy is. It's interesting also to think about where they're going to go with the reboot, because they have hints in the trailer that it might be like a whole network of Chuckies that are all like robotic AI type shit, or maybe under the control of the one other Chucky. And that would be an interesting take, because when you have numbers like that, now you can get a lot accomplished, no matter how small they are. Look at what ants are capable of doing. There's these ants in Africa called Siafu, and they kill every living thing within a certain radius. I don't know what time of year it is. It's been a while since I've seen the documentary. But they kill birds. They climb up cows and get inside their ears and eat them from the inside out. They destroy everything. They've even killed infants before by climbing up in their cribs and doing the same thing. They start going in their ear and they just eat them from the inside out. They're terrifying. But they're tiny. So if it came down to a war, we would win. Now imagine that they're the size of pugs or golden retrievers. Now you're fucked. You're not going to be able to contend with this. So if you have an army of Chuckies operating ant style, all with a singular focus and goal, that becomes a much scarier thing. It's almost like the end of iRobot, when they activate all the robots and they have them trying to capture the people. The sheer numbers are hard to contend with. Even in these situations, like if you put her 1-on-1 with Chucky, she should win every single time. But if you put her 2-on-1, 3-on-1 with Chucky, now we're starting to weigh the scales more in Chucky's favor. I know I said I'd fuck up 15 Chuckies. That would have to be like a scheduled fight where I know what I'm getting myself into and I'm prepared. If they just walked in the room and sprung on me and overwhelmed me, I wouldn't be able to do much, I don't think. Especially if they had weapons. So now she's going to realize she just realized he doesn't have batteries in him, and he's been moving and talking this whole time. She believes. She's seen the light. Lord have mercy. This is effectively scary too, because he twisted his head around backwards like Exorcist style, but he still went with a stock phrase, and when she dropped him, he rolled underneath the couch. So now there's this building tension as she looks under there and pokes him to see if he's alive. She's probably not even quite sure. She probably doesn't quite believe what she's seeing. Like nowadays, if you found something like that, what do you make a YouTube video? Do you put it in the trash compactor? Do you call the cops? What the fuck do you do with something like that? You'd want to destroy it, but at the same time, you'd want to study it. And we haven't gotten to see the actual Chucky, like the fierce-looking, menacing Chucky. We're about to, though. This is solid, too. If but the fucking... He's pummeling her while she's holding him. She could just toss him so easy. You could still get him in the fireplace. This whole wrestling match is bullshit. Does he have the force of 1,000 demons helping him hold her down? See, like she threw him there. Why was that so hard to do before? Okay, yeah, he's running at you. Get yourself in position. And why can he run so fast? His legs are so short. I guess there's weird human limitations that he wouldn't have. Like, he doesn't eat, so he's not burning energy. So does he have unlimited energy? Does he ever run out of breath? We know that he can wrestle a woman that is like 15 times his size down to the ground. You stupid bitch! Oh, goddamn. I wonder how intentional it was to take something that would look, at face value, appealing to kids and flip it on its head and make it terrifying like this. Because I know for a fact if my son walked in during the first 15, 20 minutes of this movie, he would want to watch it. And then it turns into this psycho-killing fucking doll. Shit you don't really want them considering. And people were much less aware of keeping their children away from certain content back then. It's pretty clear what she's talking about. She explained herself fairly thoroughly there. The doll doesn't have batteries in it, dude. She does sound pretty crazy. You'd have to wonder if you were taking crazy pills. This guy looks like he could be Mark Ruffalo's dad. Or older brother. Doesn't he have a Mark Ruffalo thing going on? You can tell it's cold. You can see their breath. I always gain a little bit more respect for people's acting ability when I realize that they're in elements like that. Like when you find out that the hot tub in Halloween 2 was actually cold, and Bud had to get in there with that chick. They're both naked, and they're sitting in this freezing cold water, and they have to have a dialogue when they probably can barely breathe. Another one that comes to mind is the first episode of Eastbound and Down. He's in the pool with his brother, and his brother is standing up holding a beer, and he's talking to him, and you can see his fucking arms shaking like he's Muhammad Ali because he's so cold, but his voice isn't quivering at all, and he's delivering those words. That seems hard because sometimes I get in the shower when it's too cold, and I can't even, it's like my diaphragm or something starts spasming and I can't breathe. It gets weird. If I really think about it and focus, I can control it, but you get this panicky feeling that you have to manage, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. I watched an episode of The Apprentice back in the day where they were filming a commercial, and it was a shower commercial, and the water in the shower was cold. Seems like cruel and unusual punishment. Like, why can't you just make it warm? We have warm water in this world. So she's gone down to hang out with the winos from Rocky. Do 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 do, take me back. And she's done goofed. This is not a great part of town to be in. This guy doesn't even barely remember her. He's clearly fucked up.
Yes, a good guy doll. You sold it to me. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, doll. What about
You don't live this life because you're 3 years clean and sober.
I don't have much of it.
Be a hard life to be homeless in Chicago, too. Gets fucking cold there.
not enough? What else you got?
That's all I've got.
And he's gonna try to rape her. Lucky for her, she told the cop what part of town she was going to. He tried to warn her and she didn't listen, so the cop's gonna follow her and make the save here. Are you allowed to do that? Like, I don't have a problem with it. Damn, that vintage boombox. You could sling that on eBay so quick today. I don't have a problem with the justice element of taking the potential rapist and kneeing him in the junk. I think that might even be a little bit less than what's requisite of that act. But I don't know if you're allowed to do that as a cop, to just grab a dude and knee him in the balls. I think he can complain. Legally.
Well, wait a minute. Something the peddler said upset.
In the United States, that is. In my world,
God damn it.
if a guy's about to rape a girl,
Now what was it?
you can do pretty much anything you want to him, and I'm on board.
The Lake Shore Strangler, the man who's partners with Eddie Caputo. Oh, hey, where you going now?
Old-fashioned Van Buren.
There's nothing there. It's an abandoned wreck of a store. Well, why don't you believe me? It was struck by lightning the night that Charles Lee Ray died.
Oh.
How do you know that?
Because I was there. I was the man who killed him.
All the dots are connecting. How coincidental that you would be the cop involved in this, and there would be that little tinge, that little thing in the back of his mind where he would think
Anything at all? Charles Lee Ray.
that he needs to sorry, I just got distracted for a second. Back at the movie.
Sorry you couldn't find anything so bad.
But I did. I found out that Chucky's Charles Lee Ray.
There's not as much action in this as there should be either. It's really slow. A lot of just filler interaction of between him and her and adults and trying to convince people. It doesn't
Life depends on it.
pay off.
7:30, Stony Island, south side. But I've already checked the place out. There's nothing there. Not good night.
Wait a minute. Where are you going?
Oh, I guess it's
I haven't addressed that Chucky's motive in all this is that he is trying to
Caputo, that leaves you.
get out of this doll's body now.
Listen to me.
He doesn't want to be stuck in the doll's body. His human body's gone. He died.
I am telling you.
She rolled up the window, but she didn't lock the door. She's a genius.
hardly sane and rational.
All right. All right. Do you remember what you said the first night you met me in my apartment?
What about
You said you didn't like losing.
See, this is like somebody telling you they were abducted by aliens when you don't believe in aliens. It's just, you feel like you're going down the crazy. You're boarding the crazy train if you go along with this story and acknowledge it in any way, shape, or form as being plausible. But she sparked his interest enough that he's gone to the police station and pulled the file on Charles Lee Ray. I think Chucky's in his car. Damn, that's old school. He's got the push button cigarette lighter and ashtray in the car. He's not doing a good job of strangling him or whatever. There's so much space around that, it's barely on his neck. His carotids are definitely not shut off. He could function well enough to pull this car over. And how strong is this goddamn doll? Give me a break. He should be able to take that one hand and just rip the cord out of the doll's hands. That doll is like the size of a 2-year-old. Show me a 2-year-old whose 2 hands are as strong as my 1 hand. I guess he's stronger than a 2-year-old. He's stabbing that fucking knife through the car seat. Okay, you had your foot on the brake pedal. You could have pushed it. The characters are just so dumb. Oh, conveniently the pedal fell off of his brake. Okay, now this is scary and creepy because Chucky's pushing down the gas for him and he can't seem to stop it. But Chucky's also, his arm, we've established, is less than a foot long. So if he's pushing that pedal down, his face is close enough to stomp on. Stomp his fucking face. We managed to get the culmination of the car tipping over. Okay. Now we're going to get to another part that bothers me. Why doesn't he climb out of the car? Okay, well, for one, why does Chucky do that? He had every opportunity to kill him right there. Right? He swung the knife and stabbed it into the car and then just ran away. Okay, there's a broken window right behind his head. He could just shimmy right out of the car, but he sits here. Right now, why are you still in the car? What are you doing? Oh my God, dude. What are you doing? See that window right there that's open? No attempt whatsoever to get out. He has a gun. He just... Okay, now get out of the car. Jesus Christ. They had him be dumb and stay in the car just so they could get that kind of dramatic scene where he shoots Chucky in the chest, I suppose. She's gone to Charles Lee Ray's apartment, and there's fucking weird murals on the wall of voodoo cult shit and naked dudes with knives and erect penises, demon ghoul looking. That almost looked like Michael Myers. He's into some seedy shit. Is that a leg? Whose leg is that? What is that? It's got like a chair that has human-looking legs. That was fucked up. Oh, thank you, mighty. And the cop is followed her.
After I talked to you,
I'm the Viper. I came to wash the windows.
always fine. Nickname was Chucky.
That's a natural fit. His name's Charles. Ooh. The bishop.
All we have to do is find him before Chucky does.
This guy is like the shaman. I don't know if that's what you'd call him. He taught Chucky the voodoo shit, but he wasn't supposed to use it for evil. He's like the Jedi Master, and Chucky is Darth Vader.
What do you think? Green work? When I came here learning all that stuff about how to meet death, I thought maybe you were pulling my chain. But not now. Not now.
That doll is fucking creepy.
I didn't think anybody could hurt me. Last night I got shot. You know something? It hurt. It hurt like a son of a bitch and even bled. What I said, Joe.
The voice again is perfect. So he's finding out that the more time he spends in this body, the more human he will become.
My life in this body.
So he'll slowly begin to feel more pain,
Get me out.
and he will bleed. All the things that make a human human. And this guy doesn't want to help him because he went to the evil side of the Force. The dark side.
For evil, and you have to be stopped.
You know, I thought
Do these people actually exist? There's people who believe this shit. Also, was it worth dedicating your whole life?
Sure. How do you want it? Broken leg?
You figure he spent years dedicated to painting those murals and studying this shit so that he could have life after death. And now he's stuck in a doll. Maybe just enjoy your first life that you were given. Not worry so much about the eternity part.
Tell me you died, John. Your choice.
And now he's hurting this guy using a voodoo doll, which makes sense in the storyline. If it's possible for him to transfer his soul into a good guy doll, then it's possible for him to kill this shaman using a voodoo doll. That's reasonable. We're all supernatural bullshit, unrealistic territory for the whole movie.
6-year-old kid. I'm gonna be 6 years old again. Well, John, it's been fun.
And I know what I signed up for. I'm not... That's just kind of my opinion of that whole realm. I'm not...
You have a date with death.
I think what makes scary movies scary is the possibility that they could be real. Well, if I don't believe that it's realistic, I'm not scared at all. Like The Strangers. There's an example. The Strangers is legitimately fucking scary. That, like the scene where you see Baghead in the background and she has no idea he's there and she's like filling up a glass of water and drinking it with her back turned. That is creepy and terrifying because that's the kind of shit you worry about when you're home alone, when it's dark, when you hear a noise. It's playing on a real fear that you have. It makes you want to go turn your porch light on and make sure nobody's outside. This doesn't have that effect on anybody over 12 years old. Jason Voorhees is supernatural, but he accomplished the same thing with the woods. When I was a kid, I hated being alone anywhere that was wooded. I thought there was just Jason Voorhees. There was one in every single set of woods. Every mountain had a Jason Voorhees. That's what I thought. Freddy, I was never so scared of Freddy. The concept of getting murdered in your dreams is terrifying. But there's not a physical environment in reality that Freddy exists that you become afraid of as a result of the movie. He's not coming into your house while you're awake. He's not catching you in the woods while you're camping. He gets you while you're sleeping. So if anything, you would be afraid of sleep. And I've never had a horror-related nightmare based around Freddy. I've had them a few about Jason and many about Michael. This poor kid, I legitimately feel bad for him. It would be terrifying. Nobody believes him. He's locked up. He sees Chucky coming to get him. And he's just got to sit there and cry and wait for him. And that's kind of even matchup. That kid is not going to be able to defend himself well against Chucky. He just doesn't have the right mindset for it. Kids aren't evil like that. They don't know how to inflict pain. It's not in their wheelhouse. At least most of them. And Chucky's got to have this goofy looking knife. It's like something that a Slayer fanboy would have. He knew which key it was. There's a nice tension build here. There's a lot of weapons there, kid. You should be grabbing one of them, but it's just not what he's thinking. Uh-oh, now they're all on the ground and Chucky can get them. Well, that's it. Oh, put your back against a wall in a corner and sit there with that scalpel. There you go. Stand up. He can't come at you from very many angles. No, get back in that corner. Corner yourself and use that scalpel. Now you're safe in theory. Get that fucking needle away from me. This is a little bit like in Halloween 2, the John Carpenter Halloween 2, when Jamie doesn't want to be put to sleep, and there's that terrifying, like, please don't make me defenseless. I have to have control of my body and my wits about me in this situation. Do you not understand? And Chucky kind of saved him there. And Chucky put an electroshock therapy thing on his head and is shocking him to death. I have a question. Why does the electroshock therapy thing have a setting that would kill you? When do they use that? Wouldn't it be like you think that the thing would be manufactured where it's impossible to fry someone's brain using it because it's meant to use on someone's brain? But let's say it is possible to kill somebody with that electroshock therapy thing. That is a kill that Chucky can pull off. This dude's still wearing that fly-ass jacket. If they made that in a modern cut, I'd rock it. See, now the cop is referring to it as Chucky like it's a person, and people think he's crazy.
The detective was here and that he was looking for Andy.
Well, where would Andy go?
He'd go home. I always told him to go there if he was in trouble.
Do you have a key?
Under the back.
Come on, get him out of his phone.
How did he know how to get there? This kid isn't very old. He knew how to get home. He's got a little bit of Home Alone Macaulay Culkin in him. He's got a plan. He grabbed that scalpel and he was going to attempt to defend himself. He ran away when Chucky was attacking the dude. He made it home. He got inside, and now he's barricading the door. How are his parents going to get, or how's his mom going to get in, though?
Some child left their doll in the elevator.
Leave it alone. Whoever left it there will come back looking for it.
Looks like trash. I like that old school elevator. I've never been in anything that looks like that. What do you got, a video game chair there? The closet. Why always the closet? The best hiding spots are ones that are unique to your environment. Everybody has a closet. Everybody has a bed. Under the bed, in the closet, not a great place to hide because people will think to look there. I like the plain sight hiding. I like to be in a spot that you wouldn't think I'm hiding and then kind of camouflage myself. It's hard to come up with an example that I can explain effectively. But kind of like the stuff in the pillows under the comforter to make it look like you're sleeping. But that's a decoy. That's not a hiding spot. But something similar to that. Like go in the garage where there's a pile of boxes and put yourself behind the pile of boxes kind of in there. So it still just looks like a pile of boxes. And unless somebody knows the volume they were taking up before, they wouldn't really know that you're inside there. They would have to be able to notice visually that the pile grew. Or just, down behind the between the recliner and the end table, just kind of down in that little space. Plus you're not confined as much. If you're in a closet and somebody comes and looks for you in the closet, you're not getting out. Again, the kid had a solid idea with the bat. You got to do more of a jab though than a swing, because you missed with your first swing and you're in trouble now. Is Chucky on a skateboard? He's not even bouncing when he runs. It's just smooth. Automatic sap lubrication, no chalk on the bark, just smooth. When you're pollinating your flower, just slide, slippity slide. Oh. When the kid had that in his hands, it was a full-size baseball bat. Now Chucky has it and he can swing it with one fucking hand. Chucky's attempting to transfer his soul into the body of the kid. It's some weird loophole that he's either stuck in this body or he can transfer his body into the first person he revealed his true identity to. It sounds like a weird loophole that got written after the fact. It sounds like an amendment to the law for sure. His voice for delivering this chant or spell, whatever the fuck it is perfect. I have something for voice tones. It has to be a certain audio quality to it for it to be delivered correctly and sound right. Like you take Tech 9. If someone else was doing Tech 9 songs, I don't think I would like them as much. There's something about Tech 9's voice that just makes it play right. He's got the voice for it. Just like you could take somebody else's songs that I don't like or that aren't that great and have Tech 9 say it and it would be better. There's a tonal quality to it. They ran in, saved the day, super dramatic. Chucky ran off. More searching for the doll. All alone. That TV you see right there probably weighs 30 pounds. No bullshit. Everything in this bedroom is too similar in tone and color. It just all blends together. The wallpaper, the fucking... He ran up on you and hit you with... It's just so dumb. I'm sorry, guys. What's wrong? You shot me in the leg when you had a free shot instead of in the head? Of course, she had to fall down. She has no dexterity with her feet. She couldn't kick him away or anything as he ran up. She managed to wedge him in the fireplace. That's pretty good. I think that he would be able to try to climb over it, though. He doesn't try to jump up there and reach and grab the top and climb out at all. It appears she's struggling to hold this in this moment, right? It looks like he's freaking the fuck out and like a Tasmanian devil in there. And the screaming again. Bet recording this was a blast for him. She's turning on the gas. Now here's where it gets stupid to me. She's going to prop this little piece of a log up against it, and that holds him. I think that was supposed to be like this movie's I'll Be Back. Okay, he busted down. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking that was gonna hold. Propping that board up against there. Now you've just got a flaming little person running around your house, causing all kinds of damage. I get that she couldn't keep her back pinned up against it because it would have burned her, but she couldn't have turned like she was at the gynecologist up in the stirrups and pushed against that bitch with her feet. It's worth ruining your shoes to save your life. How is there a second one? Chucky's pretty fucked up. Does he transfer his body into a new doll? I've seen parts of either the second one or the third one. I don't know which one it is, but it's the one where the kid goes to military school. And I don't remember Chucky being a charred briquette. How about Mommy, the carpet's on fire? Let's put these fires out, shall we? Sweep the leg, Johnny. Why does it look like pus and goo? That is fucking scary. That face was creepy. Is this supposed to be like the robotics on the inside? Oh, Jack and Jill bathroom. Oof. He stabbed through the door now. This is a strong fucking doll. Just fight him. Let the door open and stomp his ass. Throw a flower pot at. There's so many options. You're such idiots. Grab a pillow and smack him with it. He's not gonna stab you through the pillow. Tip the goddamn table over on him. Do something. Okay, you've got the gun now? I don't think the one shot did it. Maybe shoot again. There you go. I'm not exactly understanding how the body is still moving when the head is severed. There is an inherent creepiness to the unstoppable nature of it, though. But at this point, he's completely ineffective offensively. You could pick that fucking thing up and do whatever you want with it. You could kick his head around the hallway. You could put that thing in the trash compactor, put his arm in the garbage disposal, feed his leg to the dog. There's no reason to keep shooting him. He's not dangerous anymore. Even if he did collect his own head, he'd have to hold it on with his one good arm. Maybe in the second one he has a peg leg and a hook hand.
Yeah, I got a cop down here. Multiple stab wounds for the Brewster Apartments on North Grand Street. Make it fast.
This movie's pretty bad. Like, as I'm sitting here realizing that it's winding down and I'm reflecting on what I've just seen and reflecting on some of the movies that I've watched recently,
Don't touch it. You understand me? Don't you touch one part.
this movie is not better than, like, any of them. It might be a little bit more fun to watch than, like, Scream 3, but why is the head squishy? Because it melted as if it was solid plastic. What is it, a water ball? He still thinks it's goofy, like it didn't clearly attack these people.
Okay, Mike. I'd like you to take a look at this thing, okay? Because there's no way this thing's over.
Anymore.
Mike, will you be sensible? Come on, look. It's as dead as they come. It's dead.
So he was becoming more human by the day. He was feeling pain. He lost his head, one arm, and one foot. He's still able to control the body, and he somehow navigated up into that air vent with only one foot and one hand and reached out and grabbed this motherfucker. Maybe the biggest issue is that I have trouble suspending disbelief and putting myself into the anything is possible realm. It's just... So a shot in the heart kills him, but losing his head, leg, and arm didn't? And there was blood in his heart, but not in his other limbs. He's got a nasty worm-looking thing on his face. It's not appealing to look at his burned-up face at all.
Believe me now? Yeah?
That makes 4 of us.
Who's gonna believe me?
Yep. Well, now there's 2 cops who have the same story. I think you guys can manage to work this out. Between the burnt to a crisp doll, the circumstantial evidence, and the 2 cops with meshing stories. Poor kid's got on a turtleneck and a button-up shirt. I haven't worn a turtleneck since like 1993. I don't even know when you wear a turtleneck. What are turtlenecks for? Why is there a key in that door? So that's the end of Child's Play, the original from 1988. You guys heard my feelings on it throughout. I don't really want to double down too much and be overly critical and harsh. It's just... I don't know. I have trouble finding things positive to say about it. It has some effectively creepy scenes. They managed to use him in appropriate ways in a kill sense a few times where they give him, or they put him in a scenario where the kill that he executes is actually within his abilities reasonably. They do some other ones that don't make any damn sense. The characters are stupid. The acting isn't that great. And when I say the characters are stupid, I mean the characters are written to come off as stupid. Like, it's not that the actors portraying them are stupid or that they do a dumb job. The characters themselves are stupid. The writing is dumb. And it's a lot of boring and intermittent parts. There's not... I call it filler. It's just not a lot of cut the shit, grab you by the gonads scenes. It's hard. I'm trying to wrap my head around how they pulled so many sequels out of this. I really am. I'm trying to fathom how this is one of the classic franchises in horror over some of the other stuff that didn't make it. I'd watch I Know What You Did Last Summer over this. I really would. Maybe that's why I don't hear it mentioned as much with the kind of the big three, right? The big three are Freddy, Jason, and Michael. You don't get Chucky in that mix, even though he put out just as many movies. I don't know that for a fact, but it's in the realm. He's up there with like 8 movies, I think. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast, putting up with my bullshit, sticking with me through this movie that I'm not too fond of. Please click the like button, share with your friends, comment, tell me where you agree or disagree with my judgment of the movie. Until the next time, this is Devin signing off and saying, be easy.